There are exactly two things I know for certain about the night my life changed forever. The first is that I was wearing a borrowed costume that smelled faintly of someone else's sweat and lavender. The second is that Ivy Marlowe, Ivy, the principal, the legend, the woman whose face graced every billboard in Manhattan, looked at me across the rehearsal room, pointed a perfectly manicured finger at my chest, and said the three words that short-circuited my entire nervous system. I choose you. 3 words. And my knees, the same knees that had survived 5 years of corps de ballet, a torn ligament, and one very dramatic fall into the orchestra pit during a matinee, my knees just gave up. I grabbed the bar like it was a life raft, because nobody, absolutely nobody, chooses the girl from the back row. Nobody picks the dancer who spends every performance counting her steps in her head like a nervous cashier. And nobody, especially not the most intimidating ballerina in New York, looks at that girl like she's just found the answer to a question she's been asking for years. But Ivy did. And that was just the beginning. Let me start at the beginning, because you need to understand exactly how unqualified I was for the most terrifying opportunity of my life. My name is Jasmine, and for 5 years, I've been a member of the corps de ballet at the Meridian Ballet Company here in New York City. Do you know what the corps de ballet is? We're the beautiful, synchronized background. We're the snowflakes in the nutcracker, the swans in the lake, the ooh and the ah behind the stars. We're essential, we're elegant, and we're invisible. People don't buy tickets to see us. They buy tickets to see Ivy Marlowe. Even her name sounds like it belongs on a marquee. She's been the company's principal dancer for 8 years, and in that time she's done things on stage that made grown critics weep into their programs. Her Swan Lake is the stuff of legend. Her Giselle made a man in the front row stand up and applaud for 4 straight minutes. She's brilliant, she's demanding, and she's terrifying in a way that has nothing to do with her reputation and everything to do with the way she looks at you. Like she's already seen your next mistake before you've made it. So when Alonzo, our artistic director, walked into the rehearsal room one gray Tuesday morning with a face like he'd swallowed a lemon, I should have known my life was about to become a circus. Bad news, he announced, clapping his hands. Oliver's out, ruptured calf. He's done for the season. The room gasped. Oliver was Ivy's partner for the spring gala, the biggest performance of our year, the one with the champagne reception and the critics from 3 different countries, and he was gone. Don't panic, Alonzo said, though everyone was already panicking. We have options. We have understudies. He said the word like it was a polite way of saying, we're doomed. For the next 6 hours, every single male dancer in the company threw themselves into the audition. They were good. They were very good. And one by one, Ivy dismissed them all. Too stiff, too flashy, wrong musicality, wrong face. That one I still don't understand. I watched from the corner, stretching my hamstring and minding my own business, when I noticed something strange. Ivy kept glancing at me. Not the way you glance at someone across a crowded room, the way you glance at a menu when you've decided what you're ordering, but you want to savor the anticipation. I told myself I was imagining it. I told myself that a principal ballerina does not look at a corps dancer like that. I told myself a lot of things that turned out to be completely wrong. At 4 o'clock, the last male dancer limped out of the room, defeated. Ivy crossed her arms, tapped her foot, and looked at Alonzo. There's no one, she said flatly. There's no one in this company who can partner me for the gala. Alonzo rubbed his temples. We can bring in a guest artist from... No. Her voice cut through the room like a knife. I'm not dancing the most important pas de deux of my career with a stranger. I need someone who knows me. Someone who's been in this room with me for years. Someone... And here she turned, and her eyes found mine, and the temperature of the room dropped 10 degrees. Who has the same instincts I do? I looked behind me. There was no one there. Jasmine, she said, and not as a question, as a statement. I choose you. I dropped my water bottle. It rolled across the floor and hit her point shoe. I have never been more embarrassed in my entire life, and I have once tripped over my own tutu during a curtain call. Me? I squeaked. You, she confirmed. You're the best musicality in the corps. Your lines are clean, and you watch me. You've been watching me for 5 years, Jasmine. I've seen you in the mirrors. You know my phrasing before I do. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to say, I watch everyone. That's my job. But we both knew it was a lie. I watched her the way astronomers watch a star, from a safe distance, with a lot of awe and a little bit of heartbreak. You need a partner for the gala, I said weakly. You don't need a partner. You need a miracle. I don't believe in miracles, Ivy said. And for the first time all day, she smiled. It was a small smile. A private smile. A smile that made my stomach do a pirouette. I believe in preparation. We start tomorrow, 7 a.m. Don't be late. And that was it. She turned, grabbed her bag, and walked out, leaving me standing in the middle of the rehearsal room with every eye in the company on me and a single terrifying thought bouncing around my skull. What did I just sign up for? I need you to understand something about 7 in the morning. In the ballet world, 7 a.m. is when the real dancers are already warming up. It's when the janitorial staff is still wiping down the mirrors and the city outside the studio windows is still gray and sleepy. It's an unholy hour, and for the first week of my new partnership with Ivy Marlowe, I hated it with every fiber of my being. The first morning, I arrived at 6:58 with my hair in a messy bun, my leggings mismatched, and a cup of coffee so large it could have doubled as a soup bowl. Ivy was already at the bar, mid-plie, looking like she'd been awake since the dawn of time, and had used the extra hours to achieve enlightenment. You're early, she said, not looking at me. Good. I'm always early, I said. It's the only thing I'm reliable at. She stopped mid-movement and turned to face me. Is that so? And the way she looked at me, like she was genuinely curious, like she wanted to file away every word I said in a cabinet labeled Jasmine, made my heart skip so hard I felt it in my teeth. We have a lot of work to do, she said, turning back to the barre. The gala is in 6 weeks. The pas de deux is 4 minutes long. That's 240 seconds of perfection, and I don't settle for anything less. Are you ready? I was born ready. I lied. She laughed. Actually laughed. A real, genuine laugh that filled the empty studio and made the morning light seem warmer. I like you, Jasmine. You lie with confidence. That's rarer than talent. That was the first morning. The second morning, she brought me coffee. You looked like you needed it, she said, sliding a cardboard cup across the bar. Soy latte, 1 pump vanilla. Am I right? I stared at her. How did you? I watched you, she said simply. You always order it from the cart outside. You always say 1 pump vanilla, and then you always look embarrassed about it. I look embarrassed because it's a fancy order for a girl who drinks coffee like it's a survival mechanism, I said. Well, she said, and that private smile was back. I think it's charming. Charming. She called my coffee order charming. I nearly dislocated my jaw trying not to smile back. The third morning, she asked about my life. The fourth, she told me about hers. About growing up in a tiny town in Ohio. About her mother who worked double shifts at a diner to pay for her lessons. About the injury that nearly ended her career at 22, and the year she spent learning to dance again from scratch. I know what it's like to be terrified of failing, she said softly, as we stretched side by side on the studio floor. That's why I'm hard on everyone. But it's also why I saw you, Jasmine. You're terrified of failing too. And that fear, it makes you sharp. It makes you care. I didn't know what to say. So I said the only thing I could think of. My favorite part of the ballet is the silence right before the music starts, when everyone's holding their breath and the whole theater feels like it's leaning forward. Ivy looked at me for a long moment. Mine too, she said. And just like that, everything changed. Or maybe it had already changed and I was too busy counting steps to notice. The extra rehearsals became a routine. 7 a.m. every single day. And somewhere between the pliés and the pirouettes, between her hands on my waist guiding me through a lift and my palm against her spine, steadying her through a turn, I stopped being afraid of her. Which was dangerous. Because fear had been my armor. Fear had been the thing that kept me professional, kept me distant, kept me from noticing that Ivy Marlowe had the most beautiful collarbones I'd ever seen and a laugh that sounded like wind chimes. One morning, about 3 weeks in, she caught me staring. Not a subtle stare. A full, unabashed, mouth-open stare, because she'd just done a series of fouettes so perfect they made my brain turn off. "See something you like?" she asked, arching an eyebrow. I choked on my own saliva. "I was counting your rotations," I wheezed. "Professional curiosity. For the choreography." She said, clearly not believing a single word. "Well, while you're counting, maybe we should work on your balance in the lift. You're still tensing up." "I'm not tensing up. You're tensing up. You hold your breath every time I grab your waist. It's like dancing with a plank." "I am not a plank." "You're a very lovely plank," she said sweetly. And then she grabbed me by the waist and lifted me into the air without warning. And I made a sound that was somewhere between a scream and a laugh. And she laughed too. And for a split second, we were just two idiots in an empty studio at 7 a.m, spinning through the air like the whole world had been choreographed just for us. And then she set me down, and her hands lingered on my waist for exactly 1 second too long, and she said, very quietly, "You're going to be wonderful, Jasmine. I knew it the moment I saw you." I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was nervous about the gala, not because I was rehearsing steps in my head, but because I couldn't stop replaying that sentence. I knew it the moment I saw you. What did that even mean? She'd seen me for 5 years. She'd seen me as a snowflake, as a swan, as part of the beautiful background. And now suddenly I was wonderful? Now suddenly I was chosen? I called my best friend Tessa at midnight. Tessa is also in the corps, and she has exactly 2 moods, chaotic and concerned. She answered on the 3rd ring, voice thick with sleep. "Jasmine, it's midnight. Is the theater on fire?" "No," I said. "Worse. I think Ivy Marlowe is flirting with me." Silence. "Tessa? You there?" "I'm processing," she said slowly. "You think the most intimidating ballerina in New York, the woman who once made a critic cry with a single arabesque, is flirting with you?" "Yes." "Based on what evidence?" She brought me coffee. She said my coffee order was charming. She said I was wonderful. She looked at me for exactly 1 second too long after she put me down from a lift. Another silence. Then, "Jasmine, I love you. But you are the most oblivious person I have ever met." "That's not flirting. That's a full-blown romance novel with a ballet cover." "It's not." "It is. She chose you. She brings you coffee. She makes you rehearse alone at 7 a.m. That's not choreography. That's courtship." "You're insane." "I'm right. And you know I'm right. Which is why you called me at midnight. Now go to sleep before I recite the entire plot of Swan Lake at you." I hung up, stared at the ceiling, and thought about Ivy's hands on my waist. About her laugh. About the way she said my name, like it was a word she'd been saving. Tessa was right. I knew she was right. And that was the scariest thing of all. 2 weeks before the gala, Ivy sent me a Spotify link. No text, no explanation. Just a playlist titled, "For Us, Don't Open Until After Rehearsal." I opened it at 11 p.m., lying in bed, against her explicit instructions. Because I have no self-control, and because curiosity is the one thing I've never learned to choreograph. It was 42 songs. And here's the thing about those songs. They weren't warm-up music. They weren't the classical pieces we'd been rehearsing to. They were songs. Slow songs. Love songs. Songs with titles like Call It What You Want and Dancing with Your Ghost, and I'm not kidding. I Choose You. 42 love songs. Curated by Ivy Marlowe. Sent to me, Jasmine, the girl from the Corps. I stared at my phone for so long the screen went dark and my reflection stared back at me. I looked exactly like someone who had just realized the last 5 years of her life had been one long, slow, beautifully choreographed setup. The next morning, I walked into the studio with my heart in my throat and my coffee in my hand. Ivy was already there, of course. She looked up when I walked in, and she knew. I could see it in her eyes. She knew I'd opened the playlist. "You didn't wait," she said. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, in a voice that was exactly 1 octave too high. "You opened it. You listened to all 42 songs. You're standing there looking at me like I've grown a second head." I took a breath. "Ivy, what is that playlist?" She put down her water bottle. She walked over to me, slow, deliberate, the way she walks onto the stage. And then she stood in front of me, close enough that I could see the tiny flecks of gold in her eyes, and she said, "It's me telling you, without telling you, that I've been in love with you for 3 years." The world stopped. I'm not being dramatic. The world literally stopped. The morning light froze mid-beam. The dust motes hung suspended in the air. And my heart, which had been doing pirouettes for weeks, just stopped. And then started again, twice as fast. 3 years, I repeated. 3 years, she confirmed. I've been watching you in that mirror since the day you joined the company. I've been finding excuses to be near you. I put you in the front of every corps formation. I made Alonzo cast you in every piece I had any say in. And when Oliver got hurt, I saw my chance. Not to find a partner. To find a way to ask you out without terrifying you. I was having trouble breathing. "You broke my routine to ask me out?" "I broke your routine to choose you," she said. "The same way I hope you'll choose me." And then she leaned in, and I panicked, and I did the single most embarrassing thing I have ever done in my life. I turned around and ran out of the studio. I ran all the way to the dressing rooms, slammed the door, and slid down the wall with my head in my hands. I could hear my own heartbeat. I could hear the echo of her words. "I've been in love with you for 3 years. Jasmine?" I looked up. Tessa was standing in the doorway holding a bagel, looking deeply confused. "Ivy Marlowe just told me she's been in love with me for 3 years, I said, and I ran away. Tessa dropped the bagel. "You what?" I panicked. She said, "Choose me." And my brain short-circuited, and my legs just started moving, and now she thinks I don't want her. And I do want her, Tessa. I want her so much it's actually terrifying, but I'm a corps dancer, and she's a principal. And what if this is all some elaborate practical joke and... Jasmine. Tessa grabbed my shoulders. Breathe. I can't breathe. My lungs forgot how to dance. Okay, listen to me. You are going to walk back into that studio. You are going to tell Ivy that you have been in love with her since the night she danced the second act of Giselle, and you watched her from the wings and cried so hard you ruined your mascara. I did not. You did. I was there. The wig department still talks about it. That was sweat. Jasmine, focus. Go back in there. Tell her the truth. And for the love of all that is holy, don't run away again. I took a deep breath. I counted to 10. I walked out of the dressing room, down the hallway, and back into the studio. Ivy was standing exactly where I'd left her. She hadn't moved. She was looking at the door, waiting for me, and the expression on her face, hope and fear and that rare, vulnerable softness that she showed no one, made my chest ache. "I'm sorry I ran," I said. "It's okay. I should have given you a warning. Or a choreography. I'm better with choreography." "Your choreography is the problem," I said, and I walked up to her. "Because I've been dancing your choreography for years, Ivy. Every core formation you put me in, every piece you made Alonzo cast me in. I didn't know you were choosing me, but I knew that something was different. That when you looked at me, the room got warmer." "It does," she said softly. "It does." "So yes," I said, and my voice cracked on the word. And I didn't care. "I choose you too. I've been choosing you since the night you danced Giselle, and I cried in the wings and ruined my mascara." Ivy's eyes went wide. "You cried?" "I cried. It was beautiful. You were beautiful. I've been in love with you for years, and I didn't even know what to call it." And then she kissed me. It wasn't a stage kiss. It wasn't the kind of kiss you see in the ballet, all elegant angles and parted lips. It was a real kiss, clumsy and warm and a little bit desperate, like she'd been holding it in for 3 years and had finally run out of restraint. And I kissed her back, and I stopped being a corpse dancer, and she stopped being a principal, and we were just 2 people in an empty studio at 7 in the morning, finally learning the choreography we'd been dancing around for years. When we broke apart, she was smiling, that private smile, that smile I'd been collecting like a souvenir for weeks. "I should have done that years ago," she said. "You should have," I agreed. "But you also brought me coffee, so I'll forgive you." "The gala is in 2 weeks," she said. "Are you ready to dance with me? For real?" "I was born ready," I said. And this time I wasn't lying. The night of the spring gala, the theater was packed. And I mean packed. The kind of packed where people are standing in the aisles, and the critics have their programs out, and the air itself feels electric. Every seat filled, every light blazing, every pair of eyes waiting for Ivy Marlowe. And me. I was standing in the wings, in a borrowed costume that I'd now had professionally fitted to my own body, staring at the stage like it was a cliff I was about to jump off. Tessa was beside me, adjusting my shoulder strap, muttering encouragement. "You've got this," she said. "You've rehearsed this 100 times. You know every step. You know her better than anyone." "I know," I said. "But what if I fall?" "Then you fall," Tessa said simply. "And Ivy will catch you. That's what partners do." I looked across the stage. Ivy was in the opposite wing, doing her final warm-up, looking like a goddess who had wandered off her pedestal and decided to bless a ballet company with her presence. She caught my eye, and she smiled. That private smile, the one she only gave me. And she mouthed 3 words. "I choose you." The overture began. The curtain rose, and I walked out onto the stage. I want to tell you that I was perfect. That every pirouette was flawless, that every lift was effortless, that I danced like I'd been born for this. And for the first 3 minutes, I actually was. The music carried me. Ivy's hands guided me. The audience was a warm blur of lights and applause, and I floated through the pas de deux like it was the easiest thing I'd ever done. And then, with 60 seconds left, disaster struck. We were in the final lift, the one we'd rehearsed 100 times, the one where Ivy lifts me above her head, and I hold the arabesque for 3 full seconds before she spins me down into her arms. It was perfect. It was perfect. My leg was extended, my back was arched, the audience was gasping in all the right places. And then the stage lights flickered. Not a big flicker, a tiny one. but it was enough to break my concentration for exactly 1/10 of a second. And in ballet, 1/10 of a second is all it takes. I wobbled. My arabesque tilted. I felt myself start to slip, felt gravity reach up and grab me, felt the whole performance teeter on the edge of disaster. And Ivy caught me, not gracefully, not elegantly. She caught me the way you catch a falling vase, desperate, improvised, both hands grabbing whatever part of me she could reach. She caught my waist, pulled me into her chest, and turned the disaster into a dip. A dramatic, sweeping, romantic dip that looked, I swear to God, completely intentional. The orchestra kept playing. The audience kept watching. And Ivy held me there, suspended, inches from her face, and whispered, "Don't you dare fall in love with me on stage, Jasmine. Save it for the champagne." I laughed. I couldn't help it. I laughed, right in the middle of the final pose of the most important performance of my life. And the audience, bless them, thought it was part of the show. They roared. They applauded. They gave us a standing ovation that lasted 4 minutes. The curtain fell. The stagehands cheered. And Ivy Marlowe, the most intimidating ballerina in New York, pulled me into the wings and kissed me right in front of the entire company. "Never," she said, when she finally let me breathe. "Do that to me again." "Never almost fall?" I asked. "Never make me improvise a catch in front of the critics," she said. "I'm a perfectionist, Jasmine. My heart can't take it." "Your heart can't take it?" I laughed. I was the one hanging upside down, which I caught, which I always will. Behind us, someone wolf whistled. I turned to see Tessa, eyes wide, mouth open, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "So," Tessa said slowly, "I'm guessing the playlist worked?" "Tessa," I said, "I'm going to murder you." "Worth it," she said, and handed me the champagne. "Now go find your girlfriend before she gets mobbed by donors." Your girlfriend. The words hit me like a stage light. Ivy Marlowe was my girlfriend, the woman I'd been terrified of for 5 years, the woman I'd cried over in the wings, the woman who'd chosen me. She was mine, and I was hers. I found her in the green room, surrounded by about 15 people in tuxedos, all talking at her at once. She caught my eye over their heads, and she mouthed 3 words: "Save me." I pushed through the crowd, grabbed her hand, and pulled her out the back door of the theater and into the cool New York night. We stood in the alley behind the stage, breathing hard, laughing like idiots, the sounds of the after-party muffled behind us. "I can't believe you did that," she said. "Which part? Almost dying on stage or kidnapping you from the donors?" "Both, neither, all of it." She leaned against the brick wall and looked at me, really looked at me, with an expression I couldn't quite read. "You know, I planned this. I planned the whole thing. The extra rehearsals, the coffee, the playlist, the big dramatic confession. I had it all choreographed in my head, down to the lighting." "And how did it go compared to the plan?" She laughed. "The plan had me being cool and collected. The plan did not involve me confessing my love in an empty studio at 7 a.m., or catching you mid-fall in front of 400 people. So the plan was a disaster." "The plan was a disaster," she agreed, "and I wouldn't change a single second of it." And there, in the alley behind the theater, with the city humming around us and the champagne still cold in my hand, I kissed her. Not a stage kiss, not a practice kiss, a real, messy, perfect kiss. The kind you only get once in your life, the kind you remember on your deathbed. "Happy?" she asked, when we finally pulled apart. "Deliriously," I said. "Good. Because I have plans for you, Jasmine. Big plans. And they start tomorrow at 7 a.m. 7 a.m.? I groaned. "It's our first official day as a couple, and you're making me rehearse at 7 a.m.? "Not rehearse," she said, and her smile turned wicked. Breakfast. I'm taking you to the diner where I used to go after my first ever performance. They have the best pancakes in the city. And then, maybe if you behave, I'll let you watch me dance. I've been watching you dance for 5 years. Yes, she said softly. And now you get to do it up close. 1 year later, I stood in the wings of the same theater, in a costume that was finally mine, watching Ivy dance the second act of Giselle. The exact performance that had made me cry in the wings 5 years ago. Except this time, I wasn't crying in the wings. This time, I was dancing the role of Giselle's best friend, and Ivy was Giselle, and the whole world had rearranged itself into something I never could have imagined. 12 months. That's how long it had been since Ivy chose me in that rehearsal room. 12 months of 7 a.m. rehearsals and midnight pancakes and shared playlists and stolen kisses in the wings. 12 months of Ivy being impossibly, wonderfully, exhaustingly Ivy. A perfectionist who planned our first date like a ballet. She had a schedule, a backup schedule, and a backup schedule. Who once cried because she burnt our toast and ruined the ambiance. And who still, to this day, cannot say the word yes to a dinner reservation without triple-checking the seating chart. You're overthinking the table, I told her, 2 weeks into our relationship, as she stared at the OpenTable app like it contained the secrets of the universe. I'm not overthinking. I'm optimizing. The table by the window has better lighting for what? For me to stare at you while you stare at the menu? She looked up. You stare at me? I've been staring at you for 5 years, Ivy. It's my hobby, my passion, my entire personality. Your personality is not staring at me. It's 70% staring at you. The other 30% is coffee and catastrophic falls. She laughed, that wind chime laugh that still made my heart do a pirouette, and closed the app. Fine. Table by the window, no backup plan. I'm trusting you. First time for everything, I said, and kissed her. That was our rhythm. Ivy, the perfectionist who planned everything down to the second, and me, the chaos magnet who kept her honest. She'd make a detailed plan, and I'd throw a wrench in it, and she'd realize the wrench was actually more fun. I'd panic about something, and she'd take my hands and say, I've got you, in that voice that made everything okay. We learned each other the way you learn choreography, step by step, misstep by misstep, until the steps became muscle memory. I learned that Ivy cried at commercials. She learned that I sing opera in the shower, badly. I learned that she sleeps with her feet outside the blanket. She learned that I talk in my sleep, mostly about dance steps and sometimes about pancakes. One day, she told me, in bed at 3 a.m, I'm going to retire from the stage, and I'm going to open a ballet school, and you're going to teach with me, and we're going to make beautiful dancers out of terrified little kids, and I'm going to spend every morning of my life waking up next to you. That's very ambitious, I said sleepily. I'm a very ambitious woman. I know. It's one of the things I love about you. She went quiet. Then, you love me? I opened my eyes. She was looking at me with that expression again, the one she'd worn in the studio the morning she confessed, all hope and vulnerability and that rare, unguarded softness. Yes, I said. I love you. I've loved you since the night you danced Giselle and I cried in the wings and ruined my mascara. I loved you before you chose me. I'll love you after we're both too old to do a single pirouette. I'll love you in every timeline, in every company, in every version of this story that exists. Even the version where you fall off the stage? Especially that version. That version's the funniest. She laughed, and then she kissed me, and then she said against my lips, I love you too. I've loved you since the first time I saw you in that mirror. I just didn't know how to say it, so I choreographed it instead. That's the most Ivy thing you've ever said. Thank you. I try. Now, back in the wings, a year later, I watched her take her final bow, The audience was on their feet. The critics were wiping their eyes. And Ivy, radiant and flushed and glowing with the particular joy of a performance gone perfectly, scanned the wings until she found me. She smiled. That private smile. The one that was just for me. And she mouthed 3 words. I choose you. Every time. Every single time she chose me. In every rehearsal, in every performance, in every moment of our ridiculous, wonderful, accidentally choreographed love story, she chose me. And I chose her right back. After the show, we stood in the alley behind the theater. Our alley, the one where we'd had our first real kiss, and she handed me a small velvet box. I was going to do this at dinner, she said, with candles and music and a whole speech I spent 3 weeks writing. But then I thought, no, that's not us. We're the alley. We're the 7 a.m. rehearsals. We're the catastrophic catch in front of 400 people. Are you? Yes, she said, and she opened the box. Inside was a ring, a simple gold band with a tiny diamond, small and perfect, like something from a ballet where the princess marries the understudy. Jasmine, will you? Yes, I said before she could finish. I didn't even... Yes. The answer is yes. It's been yes since the moment you pointed at me in that rehearsal room. It's been yes since the coffee. It's been yes since the playlist. It's been yes, Ivy. It's always been yes. You didn't even let me finish my proposal, she said. But she was laughing, and there were tears in her eyes, and she was already sliding the ring onto my finger. You can finish it at the wedding, I said. I'll give you a 3-week speech slot. You can choreograph the whole thing. Deal, she said, but I'm not dancing at my own wedding. Of course you're dancing at your own wedding. You're a ballerina. It's in your contract. It is literally not in my contract. It's in my heart's contract, I said, which is a much more important contract. She laughed, and she kissed me, and behind us the city hummed and glittered and did all the things New York does best. And I thought, as I stood there in the alley with the woman I loved, with a ring on my finger, and a year of beautiful chaos behind me, about the girl I used to be, the girl in the corps de ballet, the snowflake, the swan in the background, the one who counted her steps and held her breath and believed she was invisible. She wasn't invisible. She was just waiting for someone to see her. And Ivy Marlowe, brilliant, demanding, terrifying, wonderful Ivy, saw me. She chose me, and she never stopped choosing me. So if you ever find yourself in the back row, in the corps, in the background of your own life, watching someone brilliant from a safe distance, convinced you could never be part of their story, I hope you remember this one. The lead ballerina chose the girl from the corps, not because she was perfect, not because she was the best dancer in the company, but because she watched, because she cared, because she showed up at 7 a.m. every single day, terrified and determined, and let herself be chosen. Sometimes the most beautiful choreography isn't the one you plan. It's the one you improvise together, in an alley, in a studio, in the middle of a crowded stage, when you finally learn the only dance that matters, the one where you say yes. Thank you so much for listening to this story until the very end. It means the world to me that you stayed with Jasmine and Ivy through every chapter. If this story touched your heart, here's my advice. Don't wait to be chosen. Show up. Pay attention. Be the person who watches, who cares, who takes the chance. Because sometimes the person you've been admiring from a distance has been watching you all along. And if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story like this one. Every subscription helps us grow and reach more people with stories that warm the heart. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and may your life be full of unexpected choreography, beautiful surprises, and people who choose you every single day. God bless you all.